Shall we begin? Okay, awesome. So this session, we're going to introduce you to our research center called Longevity India, which is at the Indian Institute of Science. It's going to be a little intro to you guys to what's happening in the longevity space, what we're building in India, and maybe slightly promotional about what we're doing, but you will get the hang of it. And there might be a lot of terms which might seem intimidating for people not coming from a biology background. And yeah, please feel free to stop me at any time and ask a lot of questions. And yeah, hope it's just not me speaking. Okay, so as the slide and the logo suggests, we are a disruptive technology hub looking at healthy aging in the Indian context. And to begin with, there is this quote which kind of resonates with a lot of people where like, if you did not grow old, would you want to live forever? And that is what aging research tries to capture. Like, how do you prevent? Because growing old is associated with a lot of decline in your function, or decline in your, let's say, the capacity to be self-reliant, your capacity to do work, and a lot of things that you associate with youth, like vitality, all of that is lost as you grow old. And not only that, you see that as people grow old, you have a lot of diseases that start to onset, be it cancer or diabetes or cardiovascular diseases. All the risk for developing these kind of grows in some cases exponentially as you grow old. And so coming to aging, so aging is thought to be one of the primary underlying factors which leads to an increased risk of you developing these type of diseases. And the whole point is that aging is something that is very personal. So no two people actually age the same way. And this is because there are so many factors which influence the aging process itself, which we're still figuring out, which includes genetics, lifestyle, environment, medical history. And what longevity research tries to do is tries to identify how these different factors influence each other, and how you're trying to and what percentage or fraction of these different factors contribute to the aging process as a whole. So if you look at this graph, which kind of describes the problem very well. So you have trajectories of aging where like different factors, let's say maybe an environment stress, for example, if you're exposed to radiation or something like that, you might have an accelerated aging curve, right? Where you lose your functional abilities at a much lower age compared to what is considered to be normal for the population. And similarly, people who live, you might have heard of these blue zones, where people live very longer and healthier lives. Over here you have what you see in the orange graph, where like you have a much more delayed effect of aging, where people are much healthier for much longer periods of time. So this is what we're trying to capture over here. And the whole focus on what we're trying to do is on health span. So while lifespan is defined as how long you live, health span is how many of those years do you spend in good health, in without free of disease, free of being hospitalized and so on. So a lot of aging individuals, a lot of the time, so even though the mortality has increased over the past few decades, people are still living a lot of their lives, the later halves of their lives, in hospitals. And this needs to change, especially in a country like India, where we are going to be facing a silver wave, where the demographic is rapidly changing towards older people. We already see it in other countries like Japan and China, where you already have a lot of elderly individuals. So the whole motivation for this is, how do you keep aging individuals out of the hospital and enable them to live much healthier lives? So a little bit of background on aging. So this is the famous or infamous hallmarks of aging, where you have different molecular features or let's say cellular features which are thought to define aging, so to speak. So you have things like which are all buzzwords. I'm sure you guys would have heard about: autophagy, microbiome, or, what you're going to be hearing next from Decode Age. And then you have telomeres going down. You have inflammation, which increases with aging. You have mitochondria, which go bad, and so on. So all of this kind of translates into the longevity research that's been happening worldwide, where you have the development of all these anti-aging therapeutics, which try to target one or more of these different hallmarks. And so you have stuff like Cenolytics. So Cenolytics are chemicals or drugs which kind of clear the old cells out of your body. These are called senescent cells, so to speak. And you have stem cell therapies which are being generated now. Gene therapies and similar to what Brian Johnson was getting. Then you have a lot of calorie restriction mimetics, like the ones targeting the mTOR pathway, for example, rapamycin, and more recently metformin. And then a lot of other modulators which are currently being tested in various phases of the clinical trials. So what the international longevity landscape is quite huge, especially in the US, where a lot of biotech startups have made their footprint, and I'm sure you've heard a lot of them in the news recently. Retro, along with Chat, actually developed a new LLM for longevity. And so there's a whole load of companies, especially in the West, in Silicon Valley, where you have all of these companies trying to come up with new therapeutics or diagnostics for aging. Coming to other countries where you have a little less representation, there are still a lot of other institutions and research organizations which have popped up looking at longevity, so to speak. And we are currently the India's venture into longevity and aging science as well. So why do we have it? First of all, for an India-specific representation, because our population is extremely diverse, and a lot of the baseline health parameters which are measured and based on the US, all of the diagnostics, all of the tests that are being developed in other countries don't really work for the East, and especially Indian populations, where you have completely different diets, completely different cultures, completely different environmental factors. And so a lot of these drugs which work in the West don't necessarily work in India. So we need to tackle that problem. And another problem that we are facing in this industry is that a lot of these diagnostic tests, you go get your blood work done, they all tell you how sick you are, but and they tell you whether you're sick or not. But a lot of these do not actually measure health. Like, they don't tell you how healthy you are. So, and again, so the biological age clocks, so to speak, which tell you, if you're younger than you actually are, all of them are based on Western data, which does not necessarily hold true for Indians, so to speak. And there have been variations that have been found between the West and East. So coming to another very important point, a lot of studies focus on reductionist science, where you either knock down a gene and say that this is important for longevity, or a specific target where you just people have observed that if you target this particular molecule in the cell, your mice and your rats lived longer. So maybe let's go for clinical trials in humans. But to understand this from a human perspective, you need a systems perspective where you try to integrate all different levels and you try to scale up from cells to populations. So to address these lacks in the field, last year we started this initiative at the Indian Institute of Science called Longevity India, where we're trying to connect science, that is scientists, with clinicians, and industry, a lot of industries which are working in this space in India, along with society, because ultimately these are the people who are going to benefit from all these interventions. So coming to the problem statements that we're working on at hand. So you have changes occurring at multiple levels in aging, starting from molecular levels where your DNA gets damaged, you have changes in protein expression and so on, and then this translates into cellular changes where you have cells becoming old, which is known as senescence. All your stem cells get exhausted or used up as you grow old. And then at the tissue level, similarly, you have inflammation, which drives inflammation to and senescence to other organs. And you have systemic changes where your immune function goes down with age. And then finally, at a population level, you have different environmental factors which influence how you age. So there is so many scales that you need to connect these data and scales across, that it kind of gets overwhelming with the limited data that we have. So since you need a holistic understanding of what's going on, and you need a systems level mapping, so to speak, this requires a large amount of data and very high quality data from healthy people. So to do that, what we've launched is called the Bharat Study, which stands for Biomarkers of Healthy Aging, Resilience, Adversity, and Transitions, where we are trying to collect as much data from individuals, from healthy individuals as possible, to form a sort of baseline data set for the East, especially India, where we're collecting data which relates to functional changes that occur in the body. For example, your physical strength, your muscle strength, the amount of fat that you have in your body, then a lot of cognitive decline and stress markers. Then you have metabolic alterations, so there's a lot of metabolic reactions that are occurring in each of your cells. So we would like to capture those. Epigenetic mapping, so I'm sure you've heard of epigenetics, and that's basically how the environment talks to your genes. So, and then gut microbiome analysis, and then biophysical changes, how your blood cells change over time, and then immune profile as well to see how your immunity changes over time. So all of this is being collected by us to give you a more specific view into this. So we sample healthy people and we collect 5 different biological samples, which include blood, hair, cheek swabs, urine, and stool. And from this, we try to extract as much data as we possibly can. So a lot of omics, if you don't know what omics is, it's essentially trying to measure all of the different chemicals that are there and molecules that are there in your blood very accurately and with a lot of sensitivity. So, and this is all because we're trying to find biomarkers of health and trying to set baselines for different categories, be it across gender, across socioeconomic status, across urban, rural cohorts, and then looking at different cultures and environments and so on all across India. So we do proteomics, metabolomics, lipidomics, epigenomics, and then genomics, metabolomics, metagenomics, which is looking at the microbiome. And then you have hormone assessments, heavy metal tests, a lot of functional recordings, frailty assessments, cognitive tests, clinical metadata, and all of these are collected from one single individual, this entire battery of information. And this, again, when it's collected across thousands of individuals all across India, this will be the largest data set for health that is collected in India with the level of depth that we are going to. So while this was our study, and forgot to mention, so we are also partnering with Decode Age and Deep Holistics, who are companies, longevity tech companies. And along with the microbiome study and the blood studies that they are doing, you can choose to volunteer for our study as well, where we would partner with them and access your data, and you get to be a part of this cohort. So apart from the population level studies, we also have a lot of other studies where we're looking at these different scales that I was talking about, where we want to look at how different an individual organs age, because each different organ in your body again has different signatures of aging, and it kind of varies from cell type to cell type. And these are some things that we're doing, where we're doing a lot, high throughput drug screening for different longevity compounds that are already there in the market. We're trying to see how they work in different organs, whether there are similarities and differences. And again, this data would be very helpful for companies trying to develop drug products. And of course, aging clocks, that's something I'll be talking about in the next few days. We can have a more dedicated session where I talk about data and clocks and how you measure your biological age and stuff like that, and why it's important to do that, and if it is actually important or not. And then coming to the stakeholders that we have and the contributions. So we engage with clinicians, industries, and then scientists and the society as well. And this is where people can actually make a difference and help us on this journey, where we're trying to support people with fellowships for pursuing their PhD projects, for their postdoctoral research work. We also have recently launched an entrepreneur in residence program, which you'll be hearing about later in collaboration with Rain Matter. And of course, there are other modes of engagement. For example, industries, we do work a lot with them. A lot of the aged tech industries in India, where we're trying to integrate their findings into clinical trials and help build their tech more robustly to so that it has a more scientific backing. So coming to the long-term vision that we have, of course, we're collecting a lot of baseline data, which will serve as, even if it's a lot of noise, at the end of the day, it is very valuable, because you can then map a lot of your disease data, or let's say you have a different cohort with diabetes or cancer, and you want to look at what are the differences in these individuals compared to normal people. Our data set will have a lot of healthy data, so you can actually compare this data and see what are the differences. So that is a very important point. And then, of course, there are so many other applications that this data set will actually give rise to, which includes development of new diagnostics, development of new drug molecules and targets for that, biomarkers and development of accurate clocks. And then you have the societal wing as well, where ultimately we're trying to help people have more dignity in aging and more, a graceful aging experience. So this is our current team. We are a virtual department, so to speak, at IISc. Virtual because most of our faculties are in different departments and they have different skill sets, which they are volunteering for, our project and our cause. So you have different people working in different fields, and there's a lot of crosstalk where we need, different expertise to kind of help us with solving the problem, the large problem that we're doing in India. So something that would be relevant for you guys, given that it is Longevity Week and you're participating in the Build-a-thon. So we have a lot of open problem statements, and we would love to build with you and let's say help you develop these technologies, because ultimately it will help longevity, the whole field as a whole. So things like, how do you build Web3 pipelines for these population studies, because a lot of data is being generated. How do you collect this in a very secure fashion? How do you enable democratization and access to these data sets? Because currently the ethics is dictated by the government. All the data there are a lot of laws and ethical concerns regarding that. So development of applications for secure and safe access is something where you would like to probably own your own data. And then another more biologically relevant problem statement is, how do you integrate? I showed you all the different types of data that we're collecting, and how do you actually integrate all of these within the same study? So there are multiple techniques for integration of multi-omics data, but again, benchmarking them and then figuring out which is the right method for our longevity-based studies is something that needs to be researched. And then there are so many cohort and population studies that have been happening worldwide, and these are all huge amounts of data. So can we come up with a common protocol where you can integrate different data sets together and then try to compare them? Because currently a lot of them are behind firewalls where you don't have easy access to the data, even though it is your own data. And then there are some more problems on the Zugrama website that we've curated as well. So again, this would require a lot of people with different backgrounds. We can provide the expertise in longevity and biotech, and but we would require people from Web3 and blockchain to kind of help and build these solutions for the field. So wrapping up, we do have a RISE conference. So RISE has different meanings depending on who you are. And this conference is trying to bring together everyone within the field, be it scientists, industry, clinicians, and society, where we want a lot of crosstalk to happen and people to talk to each other and come together to find solutions in the field. So another thing that would be interesting is that we have an ideathon at this conference, where the deadline for a submission of your ideas is 31st Jan, where you would be able to then pitch your ideas to, let's say, a panel of venture capitalists and other subject matter experts, in the longevity space. And this will help you, even if you're not interested in, let's say, staying at IISc, you can still participate and get a lot of useful feedback for your whatever you're building. And of course, we also have an entrepreneurship in residence program where the winners of the ideathon will feed into this program, where you can actually use and stay at IISc for a year and build out your tech. So I'd like to end by thanking, so currently we are running on philanthropic donations, and we have a lot of collaborations with a lot of different companies, because pulling out a project of this scale requires a lot of logistic partnerships. So we do have a lot of collaborations with companies across India and worldwide, trying to help us solve this the problem of healthy aging in India. So yeah, thank you. Yes, so if there are any queries or something that you guys want to discuss, the floor is open.
Can you please go back a couple of slides? Yes, this one. Yeah. So when you talk about different segments be connected, I understand this to be like a value chain of there's data being collected, these data talk to each other, there's a whole privacy bit to it, what data gets collected and how you annotate this data. Then that data then there are ways of making them talk. And that's what, say, for example, you take your entire blood work, combine it with the poop data, then you might have another understanding of it versus without the blood work combined with poop data. So you can do multiple aspects of it. And that's what you mean by interactions and then that feeding into other forms of research so that you have solved for value chain and we don't have to do the same type of data collection later.
Yeah, so I'm talking about building common pipelines for integrating these data. For example, if you have microbiome data and blood data, again, different companies have different protocols for integrating these data together and trying to give you some insight. So if the field can actually agree on, let's say, a common protocol on how so let's say you have data from different sources, you get your blood work done from a different company, you get a gut test done from a different company. Can we build a platform where you get a collective insight based on all the tests that you've done? Those are models that need to be built.
Okay.
Also, I had a question. In the thing you said, for the Bharat study, you're collecting data from thousands of healthy people.
Yeah.
how are you defining healthy?
Yeah, so we have a clinically measured, parameters for health. So we have certain exclusion criteria where like people should not have unmanageable diseases. So if they have, let's say, let's say pre-diabetes or something that can be managed very easily, they are still included or defined as healthy. So there is wherever we are collecting samples, there are doctors who assess based on these exclusion criteria whether you're healthy or not.
Okay, got it. And regarding the EIR, so if people working on these problem statements, will these be in scope for the EIR?
They will, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, but check. So the Web3 pipelines would still be.
Yes.
Just to build upon what's healthy. Just to build upon what's healthy, there are a lot of genes which are not being expressed right now, and it gets expressed later, and that's the reason people have, like, say, cancer, or like different forms of whatever metabolic disorders they might
Right.
get. Do you also keep a trace of that?
Yeah, so we do have.
Because if this is baselining, I would be a little worried if that's the baselining.
So currently, or you mean to say in certain diseases like.
Yeah, because if you're not going to take a timeline of it, like you only take my data today,
Right.
and you say that this is baseline healthy person,
Right.
but I have a suppressed gene right now, which might get expressed later.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wait, hang on, because we have a lot of that.
Yeah, so what we're trying to do is collect a lot of cross-sectional data. The idea is if you collect enough data across, so we collect data from people all the way from 18 to 100 years, 100 plus centenarians as well. So if you collect enough samples cross-sectionally, then you will have a representation of, what changes are occurring with age. And let's say what gene expression changes are happening or commonly being expressed with age. So those models can be built.
Thank you.
I mean, you can get what genes are not being expressed in that baseline through the epigenome data. Yeah, you can.
Epigenomics is basically how genes are getting expressed. The mechanism is called epigenetics. So if we are doing genomics and epigenomics both on the sides of those genes, we get a fair bit of idea if it is being expressed right now or not. If it is not expressed right now, at least we get to know the genetic risk of something like that happening in the future.
Yeah, so the epigenomics includes methylation analysis where you exactly know which genes are switched on or switched off. So that is being collected across different age groups as well. I think there was another question. Any other questions or points for discussion? There,
What diet to eat, which is in the Indian context.
right. So there is this entire arm called longevity medicine. So these are like clinicians who have like do their research based on meta-analysis of a lot of published clinical trials and so on, and so they do have like recommendations on what diet should be done. So I think if you look at I think there's AHPI, which is Association of Healthcare Providers in India. They have a longevity medicine arm. So they have like published guidelines for diet and stuff like that, which is based on a lot of black evidence from clinical trials.
Just a note for context, we have a direct feed from the microphones to the recording. So if you want your question on camera, it's good to wait for the mic.
Sorry, that's not longevity medicine, it's lifestyle medicine. There's an Indian Society for Lifestyle Medicine. You can look it up, they have a website, and they do all of these policy recommendations, and they do a lot of these protocols and other things.
It's called lifestyle medicine.
Lifestyle medicine.
Oh, thank you.
How many entrepreneurs and residents are you looking to host?
I think so Ramya can answer that better. She's the coordinator for the
It's
program.
5. I mean, it depends on the quality of the applications that will come in. It's not a set number. We can tweak based on the applications that come in and their presentations in the final ideathon.
Okay, great. Thank you guys for your time, and I will see you again for a few more sessions where you guys can decide. I'll probably float something on the Telegram group where you can decide which sessions you'd like to have. I can explain things from a data perspective. We can go a bit more deep into aging biology if there's some terminologies that you'd like to understand much better. And I will do a session on biological clocks and biological age. And we'll do a deep dive into that as well. Yeah, thank you.